All right, everybody, welcome to the Battle Buddy podcast. I've got Jeff Sikes with me here, and we're going to talk about a lot of interesting things today, so hold on.
Welcome to the Battle Buddy podcast with Keith McKeever.
All right, like I said, I got Jeff Sikes on here. Jeff, I've known you for maybe 2 or 3 years since you went on honor flight, and we got some awesome and interesting things to talk about here. So go ahead and introduce yourself. Who are you? Where are you from? What'd you do in the military? Things like that.
Okay, my name is Jeff Sikes. I'm from, originally I grew up in Green Valley, Illinois, a little small farming town. I then worked for 8.5 years. When the surge was called by President Bush, I felt it necessary to join. I joined and became a member of the 82nd Airborne. Served in Iraq. I got the Iraq medal with a campaign star. I've got a medal for going on over 150 combat missions, the ARCOM. I got injured, second traumatic brain injury. The first traumatic brain injury was because of an Iraq incident. The second traumatic brain injury was due to a parachute injury. I got discharged from the Army in September of 2010, medically. I then got involved kind of with the VA, but not really at that point. I, was just going to once a year primary visits, and that was it. I was not worried about getting my health better or anything. My wife at the time, she was a severe diabetic. She passed away in August of 2011. From diabetes. She went to a diabetic coma, and they couldn't pull her out of it.
Oh, man, I'm sorry to hear that. I didn't know that.
I had, when I got discharged from the Army medically, I got discharged with my first service dog, Reese. So he was at my side when I lost my wife, and then due to losing my wife, I decided to move from North Carolina back to Central Illinois. Me and Reese found a place in Pekin, and well, because of all the things that had happened in my life, I was a suicidal person. And my first suicide attempt, I tried to hang myself in my basement of my Pekin house that I found. And Reese, knowing that I was left side affected, knew what side that he had to put his weight on to keep me from kicking the chair out from under me. And I ended up getting to the point to where I had my first contact with the crisis hotline at that point. Thanks to Reese, being a stubborn little dog. And then, but he went everywhere with me. He went to church with me. He went, everywhere. And it was during that time that I actually found Christ, I was going to a church in Pekin, Illinois, Faith Baptist. And that's when, Christ came into my life and became, because he kept me around for a reason. But of course, having a hard time dealing with everything that had gone on in my life. I, was drinking heavily at the time, and I thought it would be wise to go ahead and try to kill myself again. So I ended up trying to kill myself again by, I went and took a moped and knew where there was a T intersection to where I thought it, because I had it souped up to where I can get the moped up to 85 miles per hour. Yeah,
I think that's a different story right there. We need to get a moped to do that. Right. Holy cow.
I knew where this T was, and I was going to kill myself, but I knew not to have my dog with me because he knows how to, apparently save my life, and I thought, well, this would be a way. And that's when I ended up getting my third brain injury. Like I said, one from the war, one from the parachute injury, and then one from now this moped thing that I tried to do. And, Reese was still at my side, and he was a constant thing in my life. And, well, because of my suicide attempts, the VA decided that I needed to be under my parents' care full time. And if not there, to go to a nursing home. I had my choice. And
wow.
Being 42 years old, I knew that I didn't want to be in a nursing home. I mean, nobody wants that.
No, that's not a bright, fun, exciting kind of place to be. That's pretty dark and dreary. I mean, I think that would make it worse, being stuck in kind of a situation like that.
So my parents took me in, and me being the complex person that I was, because I have the brain injury and because I have the PTSD, from all the combat missions, there was some problems, and we were on vacation up in Wisconsin, and they put me on a bus because they were sending me to Danville to go get checked into the mental. Well, me and Reese were in downtown Indianapolis because that's where the bus transferred from the Wisconsin bus down to Indianapolis, and then over to over to the Danville office.
Yeah.
But we got off the bus and we realized that, now's the time for us to make a change in our life. And we went and got a hotel room and got in touch with the Indianapolis VA. I got in touch with a very good psychologist there who was able to work with me to, help me get through the stresses that I was having and help me to gain my independence. Through that therapist in Indianapolis, she wanted me to try horse therapy with Reese, to see how I would do with horse therapy, because, we had done a lot of different types of therapies like exposure therapy and things like that.
Hey, I never heard of horse therapy. That is interesting.
Well, it came along twice. So, but in order for the horse therapy to be bought, they had to have, you had to be through Wounded Warrior Project. Well, to be a part of Wounded Warrior Project, you have to be a 50% or above combat injured veteran. And I was, 50% or, well, 90%, combat injured veteran. So I got to be a part of Wounded Warrior Program. And they started me in this horse therapy over there in Indianapolis. And I learned a lot from that, because the horse reflects how you feel inside. Not how you're trying to show everybody else, but how you feel inside. And so you have to learn how to calm yourself and to, when you're around the horse. And that's what it's all about, is just spending time with the horse, to get to know the horse, to, have something that you could still have control over, but learn how to control yourself while having control over something else.
That's really interesting. I don't know a whole lot about horses. I grew up west of here, out by Farmington. So I was a Farmington farmer. I was in ag classes and FFA and all that stuff growing up. So I understand horses a little bit, but I was never a horse rider. But that totally makes sense when you stop and think about it, of how they're going to react to you. And I can see where there's a healing thing there of the trust, the mutual trust. I mean, because they can be dangerous. I mean, a horse could buck you off, kick you. I mean, a lot of things you got to build that trust. So that is really, really neat.
So that's how I got involved with Wounded Warrior Project. Well, they have this other thing where it's called Project Odyssey, where, it's supposed to help with PTSD. And since that's what I was struggling with at the time, that I went to go try it out. Well, because of my disabilities, I wasn't able to participate fully with everything. Me and Reese had to sit around a lot, Well, they recognize that because they're a wonderful program, and they developed a thing. It's for combat injured veterans with either a brain injury or a spinal cord injury. You get put into a program called the Independent Program. It's out of Wounded Warrior Project. And what they do is they help you to re-engage, because that first year that I was in Indianapolis, the only time I left my apartment was to check the mail and take Reese to the rooftop to go to the bathroom. And that was the only time I stepped foot out of my apartment.
Okay, wait a minute. You took the dog to the rooftop to go to the bathroom?
Yeah, they had a dog park on the rooftop.
Okay, all right. That's a new one for me too. I was like,
it was down there on the canal in Indianapolis. It was a really cool place. They had a dog park on the rooftop and a gourmet burger place down in the basement. So I didn't really.
That's interesting. I guess when you grow up in the Midwest here, I mean, when our biggest city is Peoria, you don't really think about some of those unique things of living in a city. I would have never guessed that. The burger thing in the burger restaurant in the basement doesn't surprise me too much, but dog park on the roof does.
But like when and unfortunately, with the horse therapy and all that, I got out a little bit more, and I was doing good. I was taking Reese to sporting events there in Indianapolis. We were going to see, the Colts versus the Bears and different things that would happen, the Pacers versus the Bulls, whatever the case would be, where one of my teams was involved. I made sure I was there. And they also got me to the point to where I was actually a season ticket holder for, even though I'm a Cubs fan, obviously my service dog now, her name is Wrigley. But, I love live baseball. I'm just that person that loves to watch live baseball. So I was a season ticket holder to the Indianapolis Indians, which is a Pirate minor league team, but I was able to get out of my apartment and start to be a part of community again. And then unfortunately in November of 2016, Reese passed away due to cancer. And so my immediate thing was to try to get a service dog. And, with the help of the therapist that I described, the one that really helped me a lot, she got me in touch with, ICANN, which gave me my second service dog, which was Kojak. He was a golden lab.
I remember that's the one you had when you went on the honor flight with us.
And I had him on the honor flight. And anyway, I felt really blessed. And I was asked to come back to Illinois to help with my son. He was finishing up his last, year of high school, and he was needing a place to stay. So could I come home and come back to Illinois and try to do that? And well, I wanted to, but the apartment that I lived in, the apartment complex I lived in, was furnished. So, I had all their furniture was there. So I didn't have any furniture. So once again, Wounded Warrior stepped up and they got a hold of Salute Incorporated. And, these are things that, veterans can be, vetted for. If you're a vetted veteran and you're a good veteran, you can go to these places and get the help you need. Well, Salute Incorporated, they got a hold of the Chicago Italian American Charitable Organization, CIACO. CIACO heard of my problem, and they gave me $10,000 to buy me and my son's furniture for my apartment that I had over there at the, Grand Prairie, apartments.
Wow, $10,000?
$10,000 to buy two bedrooms worth of furniture. So I was truly blessed to be able to have that.
That can go a long ways depending on where you shop. That can furnish a lot.
Yeah, well, I was able to furnish both of us, and we had really nice furniture, and it was a true blessing. I was truly blessed. And, and I started thinking about, all these people, given to me. It's time that I, gave back. So I was looking for a place to start volunteering. Well, in the meantime, I just get back to Illinois, and Wounded Warrior wants to send me on a project. Well, they want to send me to an event up in Wisconsin. So I have to go to the airport, catch my plane, and they pay for the whole thing. And they'd fly me up there to go to this event it was for a ton of sports. It was for people who had disabilities to learn if there's any other sport that they could play if they love sports.
Okay, yeah.
It was one of the events that they do that really helped, So anyway, I took me and Kojak went up there to that. But on our way to the event, I was at the Peoria airport. I walk into the Peoria airport, and of course I'm going to a Wounded Warrior event. So I have all my Wounded Warrior gear on and, my Army stuff on and, trying to represent. And I get stopped by this lady. She's like, "Oh, honey, you're way early. They won't be back till 10 o'clock tonight." And it was Phyllis from Honor Flight.
Oh, okay. I was wondering how, all that happened.
Yeah.
I met you the day that you flew with us.
Yeah.
I think that was the first time I met you and Kojak. And I didn't know where that all came from.
Well, I'll get to that. This is a truly amazing thing. And so I told her that no, I was on my way to to a Wounded Warrior event. I was like, but I wanted to get the information about her organization because I was just thinking that I needed to start giving back. And then this lady shows up and says, almost immediately, "Oh, honey, you're way early." So
yeah.
I was like, I need to get information. So I started. I got vetted because you got to be vetted to start, to be one of the people that help, because we want the best around our veterans. And so I got to my first night of volunteering. I did the dinner before the June 5th flight.
Okay. Yeah.
And me and Kojak sat and we signed everybody in, to the I2 club and had them, help them to their seats, if needed. And we did what we could, And that was my first night volunteering. And then on the way home from that, Phyllis calls me and she says, "What are you doing in the morning?" And I said, "Well, where do you need me?" Because I was thinking she needed somebody to volunteer, to help with the send-off or something, so I wanted to be helpful. And she said, "No, we need you to be on the plane. We want you and Kojak to come with us." Apparently somebody wasn't able to make it to that flight. And so they gave me and Kojak that seat.
Yeah, I haven't been involved with Phyllis and the check-in stuff before. There's almost every single flight, there's somebody who drops off where a medical issue comes up or they can't make it for whatever reason. There's usually one or two vets that will drop off in the last few days. And so, sometimes we're paying for a whole plane. So we might as well get somebody in that seat that can go enjoy it and help out and, and do something nice for them. So there's been a few people. So that's good that there was a couple seats open for you guys.
And it was amazing, and I got to go and see these veterans around the wars that they were in, and I got to see the emotion and the care and the still love in their eyes for what they believe in. It was just an amazing experience and a blessed experience for me to be a part of that.
It is something else. I've been, I think, 5 or 6 times, and it's the emotion, that look when they see each one. You don't think the Lincoln Monument's as big as it is. The World War II is so big. It means so much when you look at all them gold stars. Each one of them's got their unique thing. I won't lie to anybody who ever watches this in the future. I have shed a couple of tears at the Vietnam Wall when you see 15,000 plus names.
I've had family members in every war since Korea, World War II. So I mean, all those monuments, getting to see the different veterans react to them, I would just picture whether it was my dad's war, Vietnam, or my grandfather's war, Korea or World War II. I just pictured them of what they're, and that's what made it real for me.
Absolutely. That's what keeps you going as a volunteer too. Once you've seen it, because not all of our volunteers have ever had a chance to go. I mean, we get some of them that go as guardians, or even some vets that go and then they come back and they want to be volunteers. And the ones that have been have seen that look. They've seen the emotion. They've seen the healing that Vietnam vets get at the Vietnam Wall. So it's a pretty powerful thing to be able to see it.
So I get back from the honor flight, and I met a lady. I knew her for 2 weeks. I decided, okay, 2 weeks is long enough to get married because I have the brain injuries, 3 of them, so I do act impulsively at times. I was married to this lady, and I get a call from Wounded Warrior Project once again. This is about maybe 6 months into it, and they said, we need you to pack a 3-day bag. We need to get you to a hotel room. We've already paid for it. Just go there, and we'll explain when you get there. Well, of course, it causes an argument when the husband's packing and trying to leave for 3 days without explaining.
You can't explain.
When I finally made it to the hotel, that's when they informed me that the lady I married had 10 different names, 4 different birthdays, and 3 different social security numbers all tied to her. So I knew that I had to get away from that. And, the people with like honor flight and the vetted, places that I belong to, like the VFW and the Navy Marine Club, where you got to show who you are to belong. They really took care of me during that time and really made me feel like I belonged to something.
Good. Well, you do belong. You're a vet. You've earned it just like everybody else who's put on a uniform.
When I was arguing with the wife, while I was packing, I accidentally smoked a cigarette in front of Kojak. And apparently, due to the ICON thing, the contract that I signed is I would not smoke a cigarette in front of the service dog. And so Kojak got taken away. Well, I happened to be able to voice my concerns at the Veterans Affairs Committee with Representative Darren LaHood, of what was going on. And I tried to get a service dog, but because I had Wrigley, who was a puppy, and then the puppy that they were going to start me off with would also be 3 months, and 2 3-month dogs at the same time, trying to make one a service dog, one not, just wasn't going to work. And they pointed that out. That was through Freedom Paws. They're out in Chillicothe, and they're a good service dog organization. I'll get a bunch to them later. But
okay, yeah, good.
Going on with the story is what I did was I got a hold of my case manager with Wounded Warrior Project, because I'm in that independent program where they even hire a caregiver to come 15 hours a week to help me to make sure that I'm maintaining my life and doing what I'm supposed to do. And I could take Wrigley they came up with the idea of me taking Wrigley to the training and just follow the training that Freedom Paws did. They do the 3-step training where it's the basic, intermediate, and advanced, and that's how they process to go through, some of their training. And so I just modeled Wrigley's training after that. And I got her through the beginning class and the intermediate class. And, now I'm having her do task training, and that's where she's at today. She's doing task training, but they Wounded Warrior said, hey, let's just train Wrigley as your service dog. But then after I started her training and I explained, during the Veterans Affairs Committee what I was doing, Representative Darren LaHood put together or supported a bill where veterans can have their choice of their own service dogs as long as they follow the process and get them trained appropriately. That we have the right to do this, But because I followed Freedom Paw's example, I wanted to give back, So me and Wrigley, we were over with talking to Robbie, the owner of Poorhouse here in the Heights, and one night, and we were talking about how it was kind of bad that Veterans Appreciation Day was canceled, because of COVID. That we really thought we should try to do something for veterans. And he's like, any ideas? And of course, having Wrigley, and going through what I did, let's do something for them. They don't know it, but they helped me train Wrigley. I did it sneakily, but they helped me do the right training for her that I needed to do. And so we started that. And then a friend who was a friend, that knew me when I knew the wife, who had the 10 different names, 4 different birthdays, and 3 different social security numbers, that he stopped, and we finally got we we're veterans about it, and we had a beer and we talked, and we came to realize that, hey, we could still pull this off. We could still have Veterans Appreciation Day. Scott Croissant, he's the head of the Gold Star families now, but we were like we should do something, and because I wanted the dogs involved and Freedom Paws, it was already on its way. So October 11th from 1 to 4, we're having an event out at the Poorhouse with Fannie Ray performing, and it's a Sunday afternoon, and it's a dog event, but it's going for Freedom Paws for the Service Dog Agency out in Chillicothe. That's
awesome. And I actually put out there on my social media Facebook page for this podcast. I shared it to my Facebook that I was doing this, and anybody have any suggestions. And I did have one person go to my website and suggest that I talk to them. And I thought that'd be interesting. Talking to you about having a service dog, but it'd be interesting to talk to people about the whole training aspect, just even obedience training. How do you properly train a dog? I'm not an animal person, so I don't know the first thing about training a dog. I don't even know how to get a dog to go outside to go to the bathroom, let alone get it to be obedient or do things for you. So.
Well, I mean, it's been an amazing process, having to do it on my own, outside of not having a service dog agency work with me. And I've had the brunt of all the expense of it, of what it takes, as far as your commitment with time, to be the one that has to reinforce what you learn in class, to be the one that takes the time and makes her learn how to walk next to you without pulling on your left hip, which is already bad anyway, already been replaced once, So, you have to train her, and she's come along famously, and it takes commitment. You have to be all about your dog for a little while. And, after my recent scathe with Love, I'm pretty good with just being all about my dog right now.
Now you've got 2 dogs, right? You have a pet, another one?
Yeah, I have the little one. Her name is Ivy. Obviously I'm a Cub fan, so Wrigley and Ivy. Ivy.
What do you do if you get a third one?
Ivy is my guard dog. I call her my house guard dog. She's a little Chihuahua. She's a red Chihuahua, and she's right down there. She's very small, but she's my guard dog. She's jokingly my house guard dog. She protects the house when me and Wrigley go out to do our
thing. Those little dogs are pretty good at it, I can tell you. Being a realtor by trade, the little dogs are pretty territorial about things like that. The big dogs usually don't care too much. They just kind of look at you and whatever, But the little ones, they let you know they're there.
Yeah, she's been amazing, and I got her from Paws, which is why I when I was originally talking with Robbie was, hey, let's make it a dog thing, let's make it about dogs for dogs, so that's
awesome.
And then Veterans Appreciation Day decided to step aboard, and we're all working together, and we're making good things happen for those good people.
Yeah, this is a weird year, so any good that can come for any kind of organization, it's worth a shot. It's a tough year. It's 2020. Right. It'll go down to the history books, right?
Yeah, it's going to be a bad year all around.
Yeah, we'll make the best of it. I mean, that's all you can do is have a positive attitude and try and press on and right. Do the best with what you got. So, just kind of dive right into the service dog thing there. Wrigley, where did you end up getting Wrigley at?
I got Wrigley from a breeder down in Central Illinois, and because my
Okay.
parents knew how much I depended on dogs. The day after I lost Kojak, they were like, "You find the first available dog that you think you could do with, and then we'll go get it," because they know how I'm a dog person. I depend. I'll admit, with my PTSD and my TBI, I'm better off having a dog by my side. I'm just that guy.
Was there a
And,
certain breed you were looking for, or was it
well,
just
I was originally looking for labs, but the one that I saw, I called, and I had to wait 2 weeks where I could have gotten Wrigley that day. And because I was fragile at that point and I knew I needed a dog at my side because there's a lot of big changes going on in my life, I needed the dog there. So I got Wrigley because she was available that day. So that's how I ended
well,
up.
strange things happen like that. So you kind of
It's all
talked a little
for
bit
a
about,
reason.
yeah, absolutely. Everything happens for a reason. You talk a little bit about the training process and kind of doing it yourself. Um, what's that kind of time demand been, and the cost associated, not just time, but what's the training cost been like up there at the dog place, if you don't mind sharing?
Well, I mean, like Wrigley's training, it usually costs me about 350 a month is what I'm paying for training. And then, you also like, because she's not, when you get a service dog through like the service dog agencies and stuff, they're VA connected. If you're VA connected, then your
So
dog
the VA is taking care of those costs in those
for the
cases.
cost in those cases, for like the vet bills, the, different things that pop up that you need to take care of,
They
and
take care of that like long term, as long as the dog is with you.
Reese was covered and Kojak was both covered. They were both fully covered. Every time I took them to the vet, I didn't pay anything. I just signed that it was me that was there. You know,
Wow.
but we haven't gotten to that point with Wrigley, but we're hoping that soon we can get to that point because I know that a lot of people don't have the money to spend on just their dog. They have a family, they have a wife, they have kids. They have stuff that they have to do. And but me, I've been very fortunate, and with the Lord willing, I've been able to get at a point, through affordable housing and everything, and the only one in my life is Wrigley, and that's my main concern. I don't have a significant other or anything going on, so I'm afforded this availability to explore this and see how much it's actually going to cost. Right now, she's been in training since she's 3 months, and she won't be 2 years until November. And I've spent $3,500 altogether on just training.
Okay.
So
That doesn't seem too bad, to go through a couple rounds of training and
yeah, you have
you
to,
know.
and with her, because I have her to be a specialized dog to help with my left hand and everything, to be my left hand. She has to do what they call task training, and that's not in the basic or intermediate or advanced class. That's where you have to pay a private trainer to work with her for just that purpose. And that's what she's at now is learning her task training. She's learning how to open the doors with a rope.
Okay, I've seen some stuff like on YouTube and stuff where people will have a rope tied to the fridge door and stuff like that, and do
Yeah.
something similar to that.
Yes, very
Okay.
similar to
Okay.
that. That's what she's learning today. That's one of her
Oh,
training
wow.
things.
It'd be really cool to kind of see that in person and see how you command the dog to do it and how they react and stuff like that.
Well, because it's important to me to be involved as much as possible. Like I had her where I dropped her off at school this month, where she went from 8:30 to 3:30, on Fridays to go to school to learn these different tasks that I need her to do. Well, next month it's going to be me and Wrigley and the trainer, and we're all going to work together. And it's only going to be an hour long, but I'm going to be in direct contact with it, and that's how. I'm like I said, I'm really out here just trying to explore things. So I'm trying to do what's best for Wrigley and best for me in the end.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, so, what have been some of the more difficult parts of dog training then for you?
Well, me, because my left side is weak, and that's the side that I need her to walk on. It was hard with the pulling, because of my hand. It would cause a lot of tenderness, to even walk her to the park and everything. It was painful, but I was able to get through it. I think it's hard to understand when people have a dog that's there for physical aid. The first thing that they want to do is is, oh, I want to pet that dog, and then they try to run up and pet that dog. Well, that distracts the dog, and that dog might be on that person's side for a reason, like it is in my case. Wrigley's on my left side for a reason, because I can't have her pulling around, because my left side is tender from all the abuse I put it through.
And that's why there's like a keyword or a phrase or something you say to the dog to kind of put them in and out of a work mode.
Yeah, actually with Wrigley, because I was able to train her from the beginning, a lot of service dogs, they use the command release. But because of Wrigley, and I was in the beginning with her training throughout the whole thing, her release command is at ease. So I'll say, Wrigley at ease. And she'll just
I was expecting a baseball reference. I was really expecting a baseball reference, like home run or foul ball or something like that.
Right. No, it's at ease. I was like, well, you're a service, you're for a veteran, so let's make it clear that,
That's a good one.
The veteran rules.
Absolutely. That is a good one. I like that. So what advice would you give to somebody who's looking to go down that path, who thinks that a service animal will be the thing for them, but they don't really know for sure? They're on that edge. What kind of advice would you have for them?
I would say that, first of all, service dogs have meant everything to me. They've been a part of my life since I've been out, and I've been truly blessed by them. All three of them. with Ridley being the third, and it's worth the patience and it's worth the time, because right now I take Wrigley out, and I had a meeting with James Core with the Freedom Paws, because of this event that I tried to organize. And I had her next to his dogs, and they were all at the same level. They both were, past their intermediate class, and Wrigley did just fine right next to him and everything. So I knew I was on the right path.
Good. Awesome. So you kind of hit on the VA a little bit earlier with the first two dogs you had. The VA seemed like it was pretty supportive. How's the VA been in general, with the service dog things and the VA? I know the VA gets a really, really bad rap in the veteran community of, bad care, can't get appointments, not listening to your cares and needs. But how's everything been for you? Not really medical, but the dog wise.
The dog wise, it's been very well. I mean, when I was in Indianapolis, me and Reese were accepted, and then of course me and Kojak were accepted. And when I came back to Peoria, I didn't. They didn't get to meet Wrigley until she was almost, I think it was 8 months old, was when I could first start taking her out to different places other than, the places that you're vetted at. Like, I got the chance to train her around people at like the VFWs and the Marine Club and church, and places that I belonged to, places that knew me, allowed me to bring her to help me train her to be around people, and for that I was blessed. But
did you have to reach out to those organizations and say, hey, I want to bring my dog around, see how she does? Or
yeah, I mean, it started, with the VFW and the Marine Club and church. They were the ones that let me, bring Wrigley around and let me train her around people and let me redirecting her as often as I needed to, and they really helped with that, but these are organizations that knew me, that knew who I was, and they knew how important dogs were to me, and so they gave me kind of a curve a little bit, but with Freedom Paws, they were doing their training out at the VFW out in Chillicothe, so I thought, well, I have to take Wrigley to places where I'm vetted. So I thought of my VFW over here in the Heights, and then, the Navy Marine Club here in the Heights, and then my church, Faith Baptist in Pekin, we were all in agreement to, hey, let's help get this dog trained, and I'm sure that, if the veterans were to ask around, they would find places that would allow them to come and expose their dogs to people if they're trying to get that service dog level.
I'm sure it's kind of hard for some people to figure out where to go, where's safe, because I've seen some people out there with service dogs that I knew they were vets with a service dog. And, I've gotten some weird, they don't know, just looking at me on the street that I'm a vet as well. And I remember one lady I saw one day and I was like, hey, you got a really pretty dog. That was it. Like, that's all I said. And she just gave me a sideways look, like, get away from me. Don't talk to me. I just wanted to tell her. I mean, it was like a Cocker Spaniel or something crazy looking like that. Like I said, I'm not a dog person, but I was like, it was a really pretty dog. And I was like, it was weird,
And I understand, it gets annoying, and and that's why I appreciate the Peoria Heights community for putting up with me, because when I was first trying to train Wrigley of getting her out to bigger places, which is how I came upon Poor Brothers, was because I was looking for a bigger place where Wrigley and I could be accepted, where I could put her around more people, so I can get her up to the point to where I can go to baseball games, if they ever reopen.
Eventually,
but
we'll be there eventually.
It's so it's a process, and I needed help with that. And Poor Brothers, they're dog friendly anyway, and they've seen all the progress that she has made, and so they helped me raise her there. And then that's when me and Robbie were talking, hey, let's do something for the dogs. We owe a lot to. I owe a lot to my dogs in my life.
Yeah, sounds like they've been. I mean, I knew they were influential in your life. They were really important to you, but I didn't know they were that important to you. The dog literally stepping in there and saving you. That's incredible. But speaking of being out in public with dogs, and I don't necessarily want the business names, but has there been places that have had issues? Have people made comments about having a dog in certain places?
Well, I mean, you're going to have that, especially if you're training, and that's one thing, is that you have to be forgiving. You have to say, well, maybe Wrigley was having a bad night the last time I saw them. Maybe that's why they're over there saying that dog is not trained, or whatever. That was a long time ago. That was during the training.
Oh, sure, it's really bad in the beginning.
Yeah, now it's to the point to where she just does what I say. I mean, everybody is just amazed about how far she's come, and they've really given her a lot of good props for all the stuff that she knows how to do now. So I couldn't be more blessed. I know now that Wrigley was actually the one that was meant to be my service dog, not the one from Frida Paws. I just had to be connected to them to learn how to train her.
Weird things happen in this world. Certain things just happen to you at the right time, just like Phyllis seeing you in the airport,
right?
And other things like that. That's how I got involved with Honor Flight. Was I was just looking for a service organization to volunteer my time, just get involved to some degree, figure out something, see what's going on in the veteran community. I'd been out in the military for just a couple of years. I got out in 2011, and I watched the documentary. And then Google, great, there's a Peoria hub. That's just cool. All right, well, I'll fill out this volunteer application. It was like 6 months later. I watched it right after the last flight of a year, and it was like that next spring, and I got this email that said, hey, sign up for this, sign up for that. And so I did. There was an event at Sumner Park, the World War II reenactment they do every year. I signed up for that, and then the next day was the pre-flight dinner, and then I did the morning check-in and the return. I'm like, I'll give this organization a shot because I thought the documentary was awesome. Let's see what it is. I'll do 4 different events. If I don't like it, I won't come back. And now it's been 5 or 6 years, and I'm the Guardian training team leader and been involved in the check-in and fundraising and you name it. And, it's a lot of work going to some of those events. And I might come home really, really tired physically, my knees, my back, whatever, exhausted from it. But it really recharges my batteries to be out there and just talk to some of the older vets and see what's going on and help them out and give them that last trip, which is just amazing.
And when they get that welcome home, that's the big event. That's the grand finale, and it's wonderful to see the look and expression on their face, because a lot of them get that when they originally went.
Yeah.
Welcome home.
It's amazing as much as the news plays it, and I hope I'm not. I'm probably not tipping anybody off, but I'm sure none of my listeners are going to be the Korea War or World War II era guys. But, the news is always playing things about the welcome homes. People know that there's a sizable crowd that's there, and there's still a look of shock in their eyes. Like, all this for me? When you've got the AMVETs and the Legion Riders and the Marine Corps League out there, and they all got their motorcycles out front and their vests on and a line of flags and the what am I thinking of, the drum guys, with the bagpipe guys, the Celtic group or whatever. There's still this like look of amazement, like they know, most of them know something's going on,
right?
But they come down there, they're not prepared for it, and it does mean something a little different, because I always tell people the World War II guys, when we still if we can still find them that haven't gone or unfortunately haven't passed, it's their last trip of their life. We know it. This is the last time they're going anywhere other than maybe a couple-hour road trip to see family. Korean War guys are right behind them. It's pretty much their last trip, and they're considered forgotten war. It's their opportunity to realize that what they did was not forgotten. With the Vietnam guys, I have seen so many guys break down. I've seen guys break down in that tunnel before coming out. I've seen massive amounts of crying, and I've heard stories of like almost complete healing. Just a weight that's been lifted off their chest, off their shoulders for the last 50 years. Yeah. And that is an incredibly powerful thing that keeps us all going as volunteers.
I've been volunteering, because of the exposure therapy that my therapist wanted me to do. She wanted me to do something where I was in the middle, so she'd have me do that where you're in the middle and you're keeping the aisles clean. So that way I would be forced to be out there in front of people, so that way I can get over. She's all about that exposure therapy. I don't know. I'll have to talk to her next time I see her.
I tell you what, all these years I've been involved, I had never signed up for that. And there was a flight maybe a year and a half ago. Somebody had a family emergency. The person that normally has that bullhorn and walks down there and makes the announcements, she was gone. There was nobody else that was going to do it. When you get far enough deep into an organization, all of a sudden you become that guy. Right. And so somebody hands me the megaphone. They're like, "We need you to go make the announcements." Like, what? You need me to do what? I don't do crowds. Never been a big crowd person. My first deployment was at a prison camp. I don't like big groups of people around me too well. I don't deal with that. I can deal with it, but boy, that anxiety level is pretty high. And luckily, one of the person's like, "I'll walk with you." I'm like, "Good. You keep the time. You just tell me what to say, and I'm going to get down this row and back as quick as possible. And we're going to make as few announcements as possible." And it pushes you through your comfort zone. But holy cow, I wish I had something to help ease that pain. That's probably the most awkward, one of the most awkward situations I've been in with honor flight. But it's all about the cause. It's all about making the mission happen. So. Yes. At the end of the day, I was like, it's over. I can calm down. It's all good. I will make sure that I'm not anywhere near that ever again if there ever needs to be somebody make that announcement. But been there and done that. So
yeah, I won't be accepting the microphone. I'm not ever getting to that point.
Yeah, I'm kind of a behind the scenes kind of guy. Let me just do my work kind of behind the scenes thing. Even doing this podcast is kind of putting myself out there in some ways but it's a passion and it can be helpful for people. So,
and when you said, originally it being about service dogs, I thought, well, that's what I'm very passionate about. So yes, I have to do this,
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate it. I guess I got one more question about the service dogs. And we talked earlier about, the commands to, work and not work. How should somebody approach somebody that's got a service dog about petting them or asking them questions or whatever? What's the best way to approach?
Go up to the person, and if all possible, make sure that the person sees you approaching them, and make eye contact and say, "May I pet your service dog?" If they say no, accept it, and they may release them later, or in my case, at ease her later.
Yeah.
But they may, because I'll do that. If I'm at a place for a little bit, enough people have asked, I'll release Wrigley and let her go say hi to everybody. And when I go to the dinners on Monday morning with the other honor flight veterans and volunteers, I let Wrigley go around and say hi to everybody and greet everybody before I sit down.
Oh, I bet those guys love that too.
Oh yeah, Nora and everybody just absolutely loves to say hi to Wrigley.
I bet.
I'm not for sure all of them know my name, but they know they think I'm Wrigley's treat dealer.
Yeah, well, that's a good way of looking at it. She might look at it like that way too sometimes. So, that is awesome. I think that's some good advice of kind of seeing somebody, because I know nobody wants to have somebody come up behind them. Right. I knew you were probably going to say that about asking the permission, but letting them see you. I think that's a good one. I think that is probably great advice for anybody looking to do that, because I've seen it a few times where kids just want to run up and I know kids are different, but
Well, and that was why I was glad that one of my places to train regularly was church, so that she got used to being around the church kids, so that she knew what her role was, and that's where that played a big role, was for her to be around kids, for basically her to be around anybody. She's going to be fine.
good. I hope in my mind, I hope that more people start getting service animals because there's a lot of people out there that need it. And then hopefully, as a whole, society gets more comfortable with people out there with having dogs. I think it's something I've seen over maybe the last 10 years. Used to not see too many service dogs out there. Now
Right.
you see a little bit more, and hopefully people start training their kids that dog's got a vest on. You can't just one up and go pet it. You
Well,
can't pet every dog that's out there. Approach, this person's got it. This dog is working. They have a purpose. And, you can't just
yeah.
run up and pet every dog.
It has gotten better over the years. Like I said, I've had a service dog for 10 years now. So I had them when they first were having service dogs. I was part of that group. So it's gotten a lot better over the years. I just think it's important, for people to just be courteous. Number one, nobody likes to be approached from behind, especially if they're disabled in a certain way. Maybe got some PTSD issues. Make sure that you always try to approach everybody, where they can see you approaching them. That's always been an important goal of mine, is to make sure that people know that, hey, he's approaching me.
Mm-hmm.
And just, it is getting better. I just think it takes time, and hopefully, we can educate people through podcasts like this, or like events, where I can have, Freedom Paws actually talk about, what it does to people when you try to do that kind of thing. Just I think there's a chance for us to really push this forward.
Yeah, I hope so, because there's a lot of people that need it for whatever reason, whether it's PTSD or traumatic brain injury, or I know people with certain medical issues. I don't know if diabetics are that way, but I've seen things on videos where people start having epileptic seizures and stuff, and the dogs are there to, help them out, jump on them, or, stressful environments, they lay on their lap. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of need for it. So we'll move on to the next topic. Since you're sitting in your house, you got your house through a program. I'm not exactly certain which one, but what program did you get your house built through?
It's the Greater Peoria Habitat for Humanity. Once a year, they help a veteran, help them get an affordable housing, which has allowed me, like I mentioned earlier, because of the affordable housing, I'm able to spend money on training Wrigley and doing what's right in our case. That's what gives me that freedom. It's because I was blessed to have this house. It's not a gift. It's where they allow somebody the chance, who's never owned a home before, to have low affordable housing and really nice housing. Really really well put together. I mean, it's just been a true blessing, and they're a wonderful Christian, and a non for profit, but they are just amazing people.
Awesome. And when I think it was sometime in the last year, maybe I'm wrong, but when did you finally get the keys and move in?
I moved in last July 13th. I've been
Okay,
here
that was
for
about a year ago.
little bit over a year, and
Okay.
like I said, it's been just a wonderful place, and that allowed me to being in this place allowed me to be able to go to the VFW over here, which is just a few blocks from my house, and then the Marine Navy Club, these clubs that I belong to, that I've been vetted through, that I got to go and bring Wrigley, and they helped me to train her to be around people.
Awesome. So with the house and the actual construction part, were you involved in any of the designing of the floor plan or what goes in, things like that, or is it just like a standard floor plan kind of thing that they build for you?
Well, they had the floor plan put together. They told us which each of the rooms were going to be. That's back when I was married to the one person. But they told us what kind of plan, and then the only thing that we got to do was pick the outside color. And we had a choice between two different colors. But they've been really good. Especially with my handicaps and stuff. I got special two rails that they put in on my front porch, so that it's a lot easier for me to get up and down that big step, because I still have trouble with some of my mobility.
I would guess they probably do that for everybody. Look at each individual case, maybe, and what does this person need? Do they need handicap accessible doors? Do they need wider hallways? They need handles here in the bathroom or the hallway and things
Yeah.
like that.
Well, like for my stairs downstairs, I've got rails going on both sides because I only have, proper use of my right hand. So I got to have something I can hold on the right hand of each side. So they put rails on each side. They take the time to really help who's ever they're doing the house for. And it's just a truly wonderful Christian program, not for profit, that it just is out there to try to give, people a little bit of a help up, not a handout, a hand up.
I think that's what people need. Handouts are one thing, but a hand up is what people need in all kinds of just different aspects. Help somebody, not just throw some stuff at them and let them figure it out. Help them get sustainable and on their own and doing their own thing versus just giving it to them.
Yeah.
Give them the resources, I guess. So how long did the whole process take? From when you found out that this was going to happen for you, the whole building process, whatever paperwork.
The whole building process and everything. It was originally we were going to have it at one point, but then everything kind of came to a halt because during the divorce we had to figure out I had to be protected with my lawyer got me protection to keep the house and all that. We had to. So unfortunately, Habitat for Humanity chose me, and so we had to wait a little bit for everything to be cleared up, to where I can have my house protected. And then, so it ended up being about 6 months longer than what I thought, but I still not even close to putting in all my sweat equity hours. That's something that you have to give back to help build.
Okay.
I have 500 hours that I have to donate, and once again, Habitat, they've been so kind. They know my disabilities that they let me just volunteer by going in and taking out the trash at the restore and doing small things that I'm able to do. And they know that it's going to take a long time for me to complete my hours, but they know that I just plan on just doing that. That's just one of the places I'm going to volunteer at as a way to pay back. Even when my hours are complete, I'll probably be still going in and emptying their trash.
I mean, on the surface, 500 hours sounds like a lot, but when you apply that over a few years, it'll go by a lot faster than what you think.
Well, I'm actually I think I'm right at almost 275, something like that. So
okay. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, see, like I said, it shouldn't take too long.
No.
It seems like an astronomically high number at first, like 500 hours, But yeah, like you say, but you get over there and take out trash and do a couple other things, you're probably there an hour and a half doing some things. So
yeah, and they know that it's going to take me time because there's some days where I still have trouble walking, and I still have trouble, standing for periods of time, and they work with me. They're a very caring and loving group, and I just adore what they do for people.
Awesome, that is good. And so, through the whole process, what are some of the pros and cons of getting the house and all that?
Well, one of the pros is definitely, I mean, I get a place to where I actually get to settle down. I'm no longer in the military where it's travel here, travel there. So I don't need to go from
every couple of years you're gone. Yeah.
Just live apartment to apartment. This gives me a chance to plant my roots, leave my legacy for my son. And to have something that belonged to me. This is a chance, for a lot of positive things in my life.
That's the dream of home ownership. But as a realtor, I promise I won't go on a big soapbox on that one. But it builds a lot of equity. If you live there for 20 or 30 years and you pay it off, then you've got an asset that you can hand down to your son. You've got something tangible rather than just, spending money on rent in a place where you can't put nail holes in the wall. Or you're only there for maybe a year.
There's a dog roof on the roof, but still, this is my house. I can build a dog area for my dogs. I can just get some fencing done, and this could be my own little setup.
Yeah, just don't go down the rabbit hole too much when it comes to like Pinterest ideas and stuff. You surf the internet too much for ideas, it's going to get expensive quick. I'll just forewarn you. There's a lot of ideas out there. I've done, with COVID, I've done some projects around my house, and it's just like, oh man, there's a ton of ideas.
Oh yeah, I've
not
got
go
tons
too
of
far down the
ideas for
rabbit
this
hole.
place. You wouldn't believe all the ideas I have for this place. I mean,
Yeah.
we're talking everything from a hot tub to a dog park to.
Well, hot tubs are therapeutic, so I don't blame you there. There's some benefits there. So, but yeah, that's the joy, and kind of thinking of, you mentioned military housing. I mean, I remember being in housing at Scott Air Force Base, my last assignment. We lived in base housing for like 7 months or so, right before until I got out, and we had painted every room in that place, and they had that very specific color that it
Right.
absolutely had to be, and it had to be freshly painted before you left. And it was just like, wait a minute, why did we paint this?
Right.
Because probably because the color was hideous, but you wanted to splash a color and make it your own. But then here you are 6 months later painting over it again.
Right.
So that's the joy of your own home. You can paint it whatever color you want, and you don't have to repaint it in the next year or two when you leave. So, so last thing here, we kind of talked about honor flight already a little bit, and how you got involved. What would you say? I guess I got one question. What would you say to any vet? Because I know you've been there, and talked to vets who haven't gone. What do you say to them when they look at you and say, it's not for me. It's not my thing. Let the older guys go, whatever. What's your counter response to that?
My response is that look at what you've done. Look at what you've done for our country. Your memorial is there. And there's a reason that memorial is there. It was put there in your honor. That's what memorials are. They're to honor the people that you served with, the people that lost their lives for you and with you and next to you, and it's time that you got honored for that reason, is because you've survived, my friend. You're with us. You're still here. You're still talking. You're still having breakfast, whatever the case may be. You're still here, and that means to have all the positive meaning in the world, to know that you're still here. You're still willing to try to be that good veteran, because my goal is to get back to the enthusiastic person the day that I sign the dotted line. That's my eventual goal. I'll let you know how that goes, but that's
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's a lot of times when I hear that from guys trying to sign them up, and they're like, well, I didn't do anything. I was in the Guard. I was in the reserve. I never left the States. I was in Fort Sill during Vietnam, or I was at Vandenberg Air Force Base during, I never went to Vietnam, or I never went to Korea. It's like, everybody serves. You did your job. You did your job stateside so that you can support the guy that is over there.
Right.
So go support him again and go back to that memorial.
You realize, even being a combat soldier, you realize that it's the people that made the ammo, that made sure that the ammo got to you, that was able to save your life in this situation. They're just as much responsible for this moment as you are. Because how much you depend on everything going the way that it should. In those tense moments.
Absolutely. I got a cousin who was in the Marine Corps, and he'd give me a hard time all the time about being Air Force. And I always make the joke back, well, you are Department of the Navy. But my response always to him, kind of seriously, kind of half joking, is, yeah, you were out there on the front lines. The Army and the Marines, that's what they do. But they still have support guys. But it's the Navy and the Air Force that are flying everything over to you. Everything's coming via ship or air.
Yeah.
And, we work together. So, go together.
I know that, like with me, with being 82nd Airborne, of course, we've got jokes specifically for the Air Force.
There's lots of them. I got broad shoulders.
Odds are that, from what I understand, that most crashes happen when you try to land. So I'm trying to get out before that happens.
There's a reason I was security forces. When I signed up, it was either going to be firefighters, security forces, or aerial gunner. And security forces job came up. Some kid broke his leg, so recruiter's like, "Hey, here's your shot if you want to go to basic." And I'm like, "Sure, let's do it. I'll take this job." But I didn't do a whole lot of flying. I mean, I flew over for my 2 deployments and a couple trips here and there. But I was usually found myself on the rear end of the plane, sitting in a pickup truck, freezing my butt off in the middle of winter, or sweating my butt off on the scorching tarmac in the middle of summer, watching a plane sit there and do nothing. So that was usually my view. on the front or the back of a plane or driving around them and just hoping you don't accidentally hit one of the multi-million-dollar vehicles.
Right.
Weapons of war there. That would not look good on your record. So, yeah, there's a lot of jokes, and that's always my response is, your water, your fuel, your vehicles, your equipment, your ammo, none of that gets to you without the Air Force and the Navy. And but we don't win the wars without the Marines and the Army. So it's a joint effort, and luckily we're
everybody's involved. I mean,
yeah.
During wartime, everybody's involved.
But hey, we still like the jokes back and forth. I mean,
right. That's between us.
Yeah.
That's
yep.
A veteran could do that to another veteran, but don't let us.
Absolutely. It even happens in the same branches. I was going to ask you because you were 82nd. Is there a beef between 101st and 82nd, or any other?
No,
airborne units.
We as the 82nd All-Americans have nothing but respect for the fallen chickens.
I haven't heard that one. That's a good one. Falling chickens. I see. I figured there'd be something there. I knew there had to be something there. That is awesome. Falling chickens. I'm gonna remember that one forever. So I really got like 3 more questions for you, and these are very generalized questions.
Okay.
So anybody who is currently serving in the military now and looking at transitioning out of the military for whatever reason, what pieces of advice would you have for them?
Okay. I'll go ahead and you're expecting a baseball analogy earlier. I'll go ahead and use it now. What you need to do is when you get out is you need to treat it like you would treat a curve. You wait on it, because if you wait on it, you can hit it out of the park. You get involved with your VA. You take it slow. You take it easy. You don't try to rush into things. You don't try to, be happily married and have your family and have your house all in 1 year. You be patient and you wait for the curve so that when it gets to you, you can knock it out of the park.
You think people would be good at being patient,
right?
Hurry up and wait, but it's not everybody's strong suit, because the civilian world.
Once we get out, we're all like, "Oh, hey, let's try this. Okay, let's do this." All this came out, while I was in, because.
Yeah, well, and it's a very fast-paced world, the civilian world is, and it's different, and I think that causes a lot of people issues with transition. So I think that's really good advice. Just take it slow, getting connected with those service organizations. Definitely go to the VA and get yourself hooked up for care, and figure out what your resources are. And that's actually one of the reasons I want to make this podcast is tell people about the resources that are out there and preach this, especially to those that are in uniform. It's going to be different.
Right.
There's no doubt about it. It's going to be a totally different world, but there's people out there that have been in your shoes, and we're here to support you. And just take it slow. Take it one step at a time. Find the right support networks. You got this. So that's a good one. Good baseball analogy there. So I'm gonna flip the script here. Instead of people getting out, what's your advice to anybody looking to join the military today?
Once again, when you're joining, you have that excitement, that exciting day where you feel proud of what you're doing. To get back to that point to where you're truly proud to be signing that dotted line and to serve your country. Especially at times when there's difficult going on in the world, that that your country's involved in, and for the safety of the people behind you. Because what you're doing is you're signing up, not because you may be mad at what's in front of you. You're signing up because you love what's behind you. And for that, I have total respect for you.
Awesome. That's a good one. And this is a really good question for you. My last general question. My idea of setting this podcast up was to ask 3 questions of every guest here at the end, every veteran or military guest. So what veteran social groups or organizations do you highly recommend that people get involved with?
Oh, I mean, there's so many good ones out there. There's the Veterans Outreach down in the Red Cross. They help homeless veterans. The veterans that are struggling due to homelessness. For one reason or the other. It's not for us to judge. It's for us to help.
Mm-hmm.
And
give a hand up.
Hand up and not a handout. And there's Habitat for Humanity. Honor Flight. There's great organizations out there that you need to explore and find out which one fits you, and find out where your best continued service is. Because as a veteran, especially a disabled veteran, your only goal is to learn how to serve with your disabilities and with everything involved. And, I've been blessed in a way that I've been able to give back even with my disabilities and even with everything involved. So just find where you fit in.
Absolutely. But I think that's a challenge, though. It's takes some soul searching to kind of figure out where you fit in, where you want to go in your life. I mean, everybody's going to be different. If you've done 20 years in the military, you're probably in a different mindset than if you entered at 18 and got out at 22. I had no clue I mean, I joined at 21, so at 22, I definitely didn't know where my life was going.
I joined at 33. I quit being a nurse. I was already an LPN, but I joined at 33 was when I joined. I waited a little later, but
so you were the old guy in basic training, huh?
Oh yeah, I was pops.
Oh man, we didn't have anybody that was. We had a couple guys that were older. I don't think they were over 30, but in my tech school, security forces tech school, we had a couple of guys that, I mean, they had just missed the cutoff by literally weeks, maybe a month, whatever the age limit was at that time. They were instantly in charge. Those two completely in charge of all roughly 100 of us that were going through that training, that training team. And I was like, man, I feel sorry for them. I felt old at 21, I had an associate's degree already, and I was like, got my airman, E3, airman first class stripes right after basic. And so I was automatically looked at kind of too in that next tier of, well, you're older, you're more mature, you're not 18 or 19, so whip these guys into shape, keep everything going. So an interesting perspective. It would have been really interesting at 33.
Oh yeah, and then of course, me in basic, the platoon sergeant comes to me, and he says, hey, your PT scores are high enough. What do you think about airborne school? And me being at that point in my life of where I was, where I wanted to just go fight this war, I was like, oh, airborne school, yeah, let's go do that. So at 33, I joined airborne school after basic.
Now, see, to me, that would have been really scary. I've always been conflicted if I'd ever want to jump out of an airplane or not. I don't do roller coasters. Won't do them. I'm not much of a thrill seeker. You see them freak accidents that happen, and I try and explain this to my wife all the time because she loves roller coasters. I'm like, I'm not doing it. Those freak accidents you read about on the news.
Right.
That's going to be this guy. I'm not doing it. But I would consider jumping out of an airplane. I mean, if your chute doesn't deploy.
Well, that would go
the results are pretty clear. I mean,
the second brain injury, the second of the three brain injuries would be the chute incident. I was jumping, and I'd just gotten back on. After the brain injury, I just got on the jump status and everything, and I got my first jump was June 26th of 2010, and went on jump status, and so I was going out of the airplane, and after my last TBI, they said, okay, you're free to jump again. Well, I deployed my chute and everything was going fine, but then somebody dropped their equipment into my chute, causing my chute to collapse. Somebody above you. It's called a sky shark. That's what we call them in Airborne. But they sky sharked my chute and dropped their equipment into my chute, causing that to collapse, causing my second brain injury and more damage to my left side. So.
Wow. So then you were able to get a reserve chute up, or
no? I crashed to the ground. They said that my chute collapsed when they figured about 70 to 75 feet high.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
any higher than that probably would have been drastically different. I would assume.
I mean, because I was already, my left side was crushed, at that point. So.
Man, wow. Yeah,
It didn't end well.
No, that didn't end well. No, but here you are today. You're still here. You're still with us. You're still a valuable member of these organizations, and it's appreciated. And
I mean, it's important for me to always keep that in mind that, with the suicide attempts and surviving what I survived, during my Army days, I need to realize that I'm here for a reason, and I just need to figure out where my place is. And I think I found it with the organizations that I'm involved with and trying to help them out. That's where I'm at right now. I can, find other organizations, it depends on where your heart lies. And that's why I suggest that everybody just finds out where they fit in, is because it's important to not just want to volunteer just to volunteer, but to volunteer for the organizations because you believe in what they're doing, and you truly love what they're doing, and you get to see the love on their face when they get the welcome back, when they get the house, from feeling of when you get your house, your own house, that's easy to afford, and you can do the things that you want to do in life.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, definitely all about finding your path. And it's going to be different for everybody. You just got to be honest with who you are and what direction you want to go, and just go do it. It sounds pretty simple, but that's kind of been my philosophy. Find out who you are, what you want to do, and go do it.
Exactly.
And just try and be happy and grateful and have a vision and a path. So, but well, that's all I had that I wanted to ask you about, Jeff. And I just want to say I really appreciate you coming on, being on here for this episode. I really hope that this has been informative, especially about the service animals, because I know that there's some people out there that are probably on the fence right now, looking at, do I get one? Do I not get one? What's this whole going to look like? What's the situation look like? What am I getting into? It's not just getting a pet and figuring out how to keep them from pooping on the carpet. There's a lot more involved. So, hopefully hopefully it helps somebody out. So,
But
once again,
that's why it's important to have the events like I'm trying to have, like, October 11th, from 1 to 4 at Poor Brothers, for Freedom Pauses, so that people understand that these organizations are out here for a reason. It's because there is people who need to have that dog by their side.
mm-hmm, absolutely. Well, I will have it on my schedule, and I will do my best to get there, unless COVID makes it way worse or something like that, and and everything shuts down. Let's cross our fingers, we're heading
hopefully we can get it done.
Hopefully we get it done, because who knows how all this global pandemic continues to play out for 2020. But anyway, I'm there to support you, and I appreciate you being on.
All right, thank you, Keith.
Yep,
You have
a good one. Yep.